Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. To all good things. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today as I talk about one of my favorite manga coming to an end. Today I'm going to be doing an overview of the Blade of the Immortal Deluxe Editions, Volume 9 and 10 from Dark Horse Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. So we are going to be looking at the final two volumes of Blade of the Immortal in Deluxe Editions. Now, of course, these have been previously published before in a series of 31 tankobon size volumes. They're a little bigger than the tankobon from Japan. And also the other thing that I'm sure most people note is that they are one of the last few manga to be translated in its mirror format. So we're doing these in the traditional Western left to right format, which is very rare these days. So both of these come with their own leaflet, so heck yeah, leaflet gang. You have the volume 9 here and volume 10. Each of these retails for $49.99. And yeah, this is an Eisner Award winning series. So let's take a closer look at both of these. We have the faux leather still going on with the frame picture right here. And then the spine of the book, which we'll look at here in a little bit. And then the sticker. Now, all of these come sealed, of course, and the leaflet comes in their plastic wrapping. But I've taken them out of the wrapping. They do have flat spines, unlike Berserk and Hellsing. And again, left to right format. And you can see the ribbon there. Sewn binding. I usually do this at the end, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about it. Sewn binding, and there's the eye. And there are some spread pages through here that I'll... with some with spoilers, but I'll try to point some out that don't have spoilers. But yeah, the design of them, the aesthetics of the books are very similar. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead, line them up together. So here is what the entire Blade of the Immortal in Deluxe Edition looks like. 1 through 10. You notice the earlier volumes are a little bit thinner, and that's not because of paper stock. That's mainly because they were doing 3 per volume. Then later on, they had to start putting like 3 1/3 in some of these volumes. So that's what was going on. That's why these seem a lot fatter through the middle here. And then by the end, we do have the 3 in 1 volumes, because there's 31, right? And 31 divided by 10, well, yeah, you all do the math. But this is what they will look like on your shelves. All of them with Hiroaki Samura up here at the top, Blade of the Immortal logo, the Japanese logo, the Deluxe Edition Volume 1, and of course 10, and the Dark Horse logo looking the same. Now, they do have this right here, the ISBN. My brother gets on me about it, but it's just a sticker. You can peel it off. Kind of like the Berserk stickers on the back. Now, we are going to be looking, taking a closer look, rather, at volumes 9 and 10. So if you haven't read the previous ones, this isn't a type of story that you can jump in with volume 9 or volume 10. This is the ending. This is the payoff. So if you haven't read the previous volumes, hit that like button before you leave, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. And I'm not going to go into details or spoilers about the story, but I do have to talk about some of the things that happened before and what led to our character's journey to be at this particular point in this story. So just keep that in mind. Let's look at Volume 9 first, and then do an overview of Volume 10. All right, Volume 9, and Journey's End. Here is the pattern that they've been using for all the volumes. Blade of the Immortal, Hiroaki Samura, translations by Kamur Siva Subramanian. Think I'm not even getting close to that one. The English adaptation by Tomoko Saito and Philip Simon, and lettering and retouch by Tomoko Saito. And on the left-hand side are all the credits for the people that helped put this together, including Torrin Smith, who passed away a few years ago. And of course about the translation, and we always have to start with the reminder about the swastika here and what it meant during this particular time in Japan. These are all published in the original 7x10 serialized format, and They do have that ribbon. All right, so what are we talking about? What's going on through these pages here of Blade of the Immortal? This is the ending after all, well, leading up to the ending. Well, this is where everything comes together. We have Manji reunited with Rin. Both of them are now on the same journey. Anatsu is part of this journey. Like, even in the beginning of the story, you never thought it was going to be the way that it went, right? Like, it was going to be Manji was hired by Rin to go and kill the Itoryu and get rid of that curse that he has, because he has to kill 1,000 men so he can get rid of this curse. Otherwise, he's just going to keep coming back from the dead, or his body's going to keep regenerating because of the worms. And it just goes into a completely different type of story in here. One of the coolest things about this, that at least I enjoyed, is that while we do have the story of Manji and Rin, and I'm going to skip a little bit through here because there's a lot of character arcs that come to a close. While we do have the story of Manji and Rin, they're not the only ones. Like, even Anatsu Kage... what is his last? Kagehisa, I think? Or is it Kagehisa? No, I think it's Kagehisa. Even he becomes a main character, and you start feeling empathy for him. He is the villain that started all this journey off, and you're like, wait a minute, he's not that bad. Maybe this is a huge redemption arc. And as a matter of fact, you've started seeing that probably about halfway through this journey. But you also have other characters through here. You have the character of Hyakurin with Gichi, who work as the government cutthroats. What are they called? The Mugai Ryu, who are also after a particular serial killer, Shira. And let's just forward here, because I don't want to spoil that big fight. Because with the character like Shira, and there's also other characters here like that, unlike Anatsu, who has redeemable qualities about him, these characters are just one-dimensional evil people. And I think that's what I enjoy about these type of stories. I mean, we have that in Berserk, and as much as I love the Boys TV show, I can't believe I'm comparing this, I kind of miss those one-dimensional villains, because I feel like nowadays we have to have an explanation for villains and why they are the way they are. For some reason along the way, we just lost this idea that, hey, some people are just pure evil because they're pure evil. There are characters like that here. And I always like to warn people, if you can't stomach ultra violence, or you can't stomach animal deaths, and actually there's some sexual content in here. Actually, there are a couple characters in here that, there's scenes of rape and stuff like that. So if you can't stomach any of that stuff, this is not the manga for you. Because we are talking about a world, this particular era of Japan, when it was kind of, well, compared to something that we had here in America, the Wild West. It was insane. There's so much bloodshed that happens through here. It's crazy just how these characters are managing to live through here. Now, while we have those characters, we also have Habaki Kagimura's group, who are the Roki Dan that he introduced in the last volume along with his daughter, who decided to join against his will. Ryosoma, who decides that she wants to join them. And actually, she gets into an awesome solo story. Like, seriously, volume, is it 28, I think, or 27? This one here. This particular story mainly focuses on her and the group of the Rokidan as they face off this small town with all these little, like, jars everywhere. And they're all taken out in weird, interesting ways, just like this story would. Now, we do have some newer players that we're setting up in this, and it will come to play later on. But we also have, like, characters like Maki, who's one of the best characters, one of the Itoryu. And that's what's happening through these pages. This, by the way, is just a extra story that has nothing to do with the canonical story of what's happening in Blade of the Immortal. But Maki has one of the best redemption arcs for any character I've seen. So let's look all the way in the back, because I'm done talking about this volume, and we'll move on to the next one. All right, so we have this, kind of like what's going to happen next. Why is this guy little in the palm of his hand? We have a new character that was supposed to be introduced through these pages, but she makes her first appearance in the next one. There's always a glossary here explaining not just the weapons, but the terminology used during that time. And the final volume coming soon with the pinup back here. Now we'll look at the final volume and talk about the extras and, of course, the covers and how they're collected in here compared to the way they were collected previously. Again, left to right format. There's a pattern. and Blade of the Immortal, the final volume. Very similar to the way every single one of these start, with about the translation and the mirror translation, how they were able to cut frames to keep it as close to the Japanese release as possible. Beautiful artwork, but I will say that during this time, I think that Hiroaki was busy doing other projects, because it feels like there's a lot more sketchier style in this particular volume than any of the previous volumes. And that's not to say it's a bad thing, it's just a different thing. There are aspects in here that I don't know, it just feels different. So this one collects volumes 29 through 31. This one has 704 pages. I forgot to mention that. While the first volume, or volume number 9, has 672. But this is when everything just comes to an end. The build up to the Ito Ryu, and the downfall of the Ito Ryu, and what each of these characters' role is going to be for this downfall. And the biggest question is finally answered here, right? Is Rin finally going to be able to get her revenge on the Ito Ryu, especially on Natsu? Or is he going to get a happy ending? Is he going to come to the light side? What's going to happen? And that's all I will say. You can find out for yourself. Amazing imagery told through here. Let's actually look and see about... I wanted to show a spread. Okay, like this is a spread, but not the one I wanted to show. There's very, very minimal gutter loss, and that's because of the sewn binding. Here we go. I didn't even talk about this new guy that was set up in the previous volume. This huge freaking character that's wearing armor and this giant sword, just whacking away dudes left and right. That might have been the wrong terminology to use, but you all know what I mean, I hope. But anyway, it's really interesting to see how he fights Manji, and how Manji's even able to fight somebody so big and so powerful. Now, I think that's all I will say about the story, because, I want people to read this and experience it for themselves. I want them to see where all the build-up of the years... Oh my gosh, I was collecting this since issue number 1. And I finally got to read it, of course, when it finally finished in the original tankobon, this one here. Actually, no, what I want to do is... Let's do this. So this wraps up the series in deluxe edition. It's been previously collected, like I said, in tankobon size, and there was also the omnibus editions, which were pretty much 3-in-1, so like 3 books. Actually, the mapping is exactly like these. They were just in soft cover, so the same thing. I believe the retail price of those was $29.99 or maybe $24.99. One of the things that I did have an issue with in these collections is the lack of color. And that's such a stupid thing to argue about, right? Because it is a black and white manga originally. But I meant the lack of color when there's covers collected. So when the covers are collected, unlike Berserk, which Berserk, they have the covers all the way in the back. They have the covers in between the chapters here, but they're not in color. As a matter of fact, even the pinups are in black and white. Everything is in black and white in this book. And that is my only issue. I never had an issue with the left to right format. I think some people do. Some people are immediately turned off by that. And, they're wondering why in the world they wouldn't go to the traditional or the original right to left format. And that's because they're just using the same masters they've been using since day one. I think it probably costs an arm and a leg for the translation, including the sound effects within the panels. Everything was translated. That to undo that, to go back to the masters and leave it as originally published, I think would have cost an extra amount of money. That's just me. I don't speak for Dark Horse. I just think that's what ended up happening. But I was okay with this. I mean, this is the way that I read it originally. I never had an issue with it. But I can kind of see, and I saw some of the comments whenever I did an overview of the first volume, how people that have been reading manga, like, say, for the last 10 years, or at least right around they started with the Tokyo pop boom of the late 90s, early aughts, everything has been right to left, and this is just one of the few, and I mean handful of books that is in left to right format. Hey, if you want to go and find some of those out of print manga in English, all of them are going to look like this. Bittersweet ending. I thought it ended the way that it should have, and I liked the stories coming together. I wish they could have explored more characters like Maki. I wish we could have seen a lot more other characters get their closure, but as far as the main characters and their story arcs coming to a close, I was happy with this. I know some people are divided, some people hated it, but I think it feels like a beautiful poem to me, and I think it ended the way that it needed to end. Yes, the fanboy in me, of course, wanted another type of ending for Manji and Rin, but it's not my story. It was Samura's story. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing these deluxe editions, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking these up, if you have been picking them up since Volume 1, what you think of the story. Without going into spoilers, I am curious what people think about the ending. So let me know all that stuff in the comments down below. If you want to see those particular years, that story told somewhere else. And, of course, what you think about these deluxe editions and what other deluxe editions you want to see from Dark Horse Comics. For me, I'd love to see some of that Masami Shiro, Appleseed, or anything like Orion. Oh my gosh, okay, maybe it's time to make my list. Anyway, any questions down below? Don't forget to smash that like button. Check us out on Patreon and Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.